Pardon me, technical difficulties. Camera shut off, but we're back. This will be part two, so make sure you look for the part two video to this. But as I was saying, it's that ancient abyss, right? So anytime you see or hear in the religions and it talks about the dark side or anything like that, that's the deepest parts of you that's inside of you. Freud calls it the black hole or the uncanny, right? And the uncanny is basically just like X-Men, right? It was called the uncanny X-Men. The uncanny is that deepest recessions of yourself that triggers you, that's buried deep inside that you have forgot about or that you don't consciously act on. But it comes back to you at times, and when it comes back to your conscious and it's made visible, it comes back on in an ugly setting, right? In a setting that's very violent and very ugly, like monstrous. That's what the uncanny X-Men represent. The uncanny X-Men represent, if you look at the X-Men are these mutants. So the uncanny X-Men is symbolic of all the things in human nature that we push down, that we don't deal with, that we forgot about and move on. And these things come back to us in these monstrous mutant-like entities. That's the symbolism of X-Men. It represents the manifestation of the dark side of ourselves that we push away, that we haven't dealt with, that come back to us in ugly forms. Just like the X-Men, right? They are the pushed away elements of society that comes back with these special like powers, but they're kind of physically disfigured. That's us. Our unconscious has all of these mutant powers because we don't deal with the things that give us the most trouble or don't even know it. It comes back to us at different times, sometimes inconvenient times, in the form of great power, but ugly appearance. That's what the uncanny represents, the ugly part of your subconscious and unconscious that comes back to you when you don't expect it, and it shows itself in a powerful way, but in an ugly way. So when you watch the X-Men, you're actually watching a play of the collective symbolism of human beings' unconscious mind. And each character represents an attribute of a person's unconscious that they haven't dealt with, that comes back at a later point in time in an ugly way, but a powerful way that they themselves didn't even know that they had that power. So that's what that represents. So when you're dealing with Aquarius and Leo, you're dealing with the ability, right, to get attached to the feeling, which is going to happen naturally, and then get attached to it to the point to where it might even break you down, right? Attachments break you down. And I'm going to do a video. The next video I'm going to do is going to be on how contracts actually are responsible for your suffering, right? The agreements you make, physical, oral, subconsciously, these contracts and agreements are the blueprint for your suffering and for your unsuccessful ventures. But this moon, I suggest, and just carry it out even after this moon finishes, is what are you attached to, right? And a lot of times when we recognize the negative parts of ourselves, it spawns other emotions, guilt, resentment, things of that nature. And this book is good at breaking down what each of those emotions represent. And I do suggest this book, and if you're interested in astrology, approach it from a health standpoint, because each emotion is attached to an organ, and different signs rule different attributes and different emotions, right? So just like Leo represents anger, and its polar Aquarius is also attached to anger. So anytime, again, like I said, if you're angry, you have to realize that part of that anger is your inability to, it's misplaced ego. If I wanted to make it simple, my man Zaf always says, if you want to make something, explain something, try to keep it simple. So if I wanted to keep it simple, how do you deal with anger? Find out where your misplaced ego is. Find out what you have an ego about. And 10 to 1, if you find out what you have an ego about and you find out how your ego is misplaced, you will see the root to your anger. Stage 1. Once you go through, now that's a dark journey, because in going through that, you're going to see a lot of the things you're angry about is because you're arrogant. because your ego is so involved in appearance or the principle of what happened to you that you hold on to it and you just have this need to retaliate, right? And I want to go back into the appearance thing. A lot of times people anger us because they feel that they tried to play us or they tried to embarrass us. Moon in Leo, which is the moon we're in now in this blood moon, also has a fear of embarrassment, right? A fear of looking less than what they are. So you have to ask yourself that. What is it that you get embarrassed about? Or what is it that you feel is making you look bad, right? A lot of anger comes to you not just feeling bad, but looking bad. You feel that someone did something to you and it makes you look other than what you perceive yourself as. But if you have not gotten contact with the things that you're attached to, and if you haven't found out the things that your ego is attached to, then how you look to other people might not be based on something that's logical, which goes to Aquarius, right? Because if you go through the emotion without being attached to the emotion and you just see it for what it is, then maybe your appearance won't matter. And that's why Aquarians represent the eccentrics, right? Some will say the weirdos. They represent the forward, future thinking signs of the zodiac because they don't go off appearance like Leo does. They go off of what they feel is needed or wanted at that time or for the future, which is more important than the actual appearance, period. That's the Leo-Aquarius dichotomy. The importance of appearance versus the insignificance of appearance. So, in dealing with this anger thing, you see all of these things. Anger is like is in the nucleus, and all of these things are around anger, right? We have resentment, we have retribution, we have a sense of justice, we have appearance, we have ego, we have how you look, right? So, anger is all of these things. So, in fixing anger, it's more than just talking to the person. It's more than just forgiving. You have to actually identify your self of justice, how you look, all of these things in order to understand what it is that's binding you to this anger. And that's where I'm going to get to the next video about contracts. Whatever you bind yourself to is the source of your misery. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that you're binded to? What is it that if worse happened or best happened, you had to let go, you couldn't? Whatever it is that you can't let go of is what's binding you to your misery. Whether you love money, whether you love a person, if you cannot let go of them, I promise you, you'll find out how you will be miserable if that thing is sparked around you, is agitated. And that's very important. I want to read something else about Moon and Leo. Moon and Leo. This book is called Astrology, a Divine Science by Marcia Moore and Mark Douglas. Moon and Leo, keynote. A fullness of sentiment is expressed lightheartedly. Symbol, an actress smiles radiantly in an audience. The person with Moon and Leo has a subconscious desire to shine, which is what we're talking about. He or she enjoys children, romance, gaiety, parties, games, and celebration, and does his best to see that everyone has a fine time. A wide-scale social awareness may lead him into politics and public service. His jaunty air of self-assurance combined with a sympathetic expression of interest in others wins him a vote of confidence from the majority of his electorate. Many lunar Leonins have a flair of showmanship. If not actually in the entertainment business, they at least know how to be entertaining and can charm all who come with their magnetic aura. Their weakness is extravagance, especially in the realm of emotions. The heat of the sun acting on the watery moon can cloud the mind with a foggy fanaticism impervious to the light of reason, or it could generate the gentle warmth and moisture required for growth. Feelings are easily stimulated, and some form of creative self-expression is needed to let off steam. Their weakness is extravagance, especially in the realm of emotions. So, if you don't identify or start the process of detaching yourself from the emotion, which takes practice, which takes effort, which takes humility, right? It takes admitting to your faults, right? And your weakness. And the more you do that, the more you go down into your unconscious and your dark side to pull it out, put it in the forefront. See, again, Aquariuses are high mind, low profile, okay? Which means that the intellect is what's important, not the recognition. But their shadow is that deep down inside, if you're an Aquarius, are you addressing your need to be seen? Because most Aquarians, if you look at them, it's kind of like a lot of them will shun the attention. Oh, I'm bigger than that, or that's not what's important. But they act in ways that can seem as if they really want the limelight. And that's possible because they haven't learned their lesson from Leo, that it's okay to want to be seen. There's nothing wrong with that. See, this society has a double-edged sword in which we like people that are bold and confident to the point of cockiness. But then if they don't do it properly, we start to say, oh, they're too arrogant, I don't like them. So it's kind of like you have to learn how to tip the scale of knowing how to show confidence and when not to show confidence, how to be super ego, arrogant, and when to be humble. And Aquarians, most time, because they have not gone or they don't acknowledge their attachment to the emotion, most Aquariuses come off being more arrogant because they haven't been honest enough within themselves to say, you know what, I do like the limelight, I do want to be seen, or I actually do like this kind of emotion, right? So that's the polar opposite of Leo. Leo might do it too much. Their weakness is that they might have to splurge too much into the emotion to the point where they have to show it off to everyone. So in utilizing this moon, again, it's important to isolate and break down what is it that you want to be seen for, right? It's okay to want the limelight sometimes. It's okay to be arrogant. It's okay to want to be seen. These are things that are natural in nature, right? Because that represents the childlike aspect of us. Children want to be seen. Mommy, daddy, look what I did. Everybody, look what I did. Adults have this. It's just that we're so caught up being grown that we don't acknowledge this. But in order for you to really grow, you have to constantly tap into the child that's inside of you. And because we're so busy pushing the childlike ways that we have to the side, we really don't spiritually grow. We're just shells walking around, tooting our own horn, that we're so independent and that we're adults that we still act like children. That's why you see people argue and fight. They're grown children, period. The real sign of being adult is not just paying bills and shit like that, which people worship. The real test of being an adult is your ability, each day you live, each year you live, until you pass on, is your ability to constantly uproot these attributes that hold you down, that hold your soul down, that hold your spirit down. Your ability to keep going through the uncanny and the dark side and the abyss and that ancient underworld that's inside of you, which we call our unconscious, which we call all of these things that's buried inside of us. Your ability to keep going down to that dark side of your deepest recessions of your mind and your body and your soul and pull it out to rise above to the next level, that's an adult, period. So I wouldn't care how much you're on time with your payments and how much you pay your bills. If you're not doing the work internally of uprooting this dark abyss, this uncanny that's your mind and your unconscious, and all of the crap that we've learned when we were younger, you're not an adult. You're a poser, right? Where is it? You're a closet show-off. That's what you are. You're a natural thespian, right? The real closet show-off and real natural thespians are adults that don't do the work of constantly uprooting the garbage that's inside of them so they could be a better person. And that's what this moon represents. That's what this blue moon represents, right? Super blue moon. Don't be a closet show-off. You know what I mean? Don't be a closet show-off, and also don't be a person of high profile, low mind in the wrong context. Be a closet show-off if you understand what you're attached to, if you're doing the work, then you know when you need to shine and when you don't. Then you could be a closet show off. See, that has a double meaning. A closet show off could be someone that won't admit that they like the limelight, you understand, but they really want it so bad they wind up doing other things that are subtle that people pick up on, which causes conflict. Right? So don't be a grown child. Forgive yourself first. And forgiving yourself comes when you admit these things that are perceived as negative about you, and then when you identify it and you uproot it and it's in your conscious, you now realize and say, okay, this is me. Cool. It bothers me, but this is what it is. I give an example. I came across something called the 4 money scripts. I'm going to give a personal example, right? The 4 money scripts, basically, they pretty much condense people's view of money into 4 different categories, right? You have the person that deals with money avoidance, person that deals with money vigilance, person that deals with money status, and the person that deals with money worship, right? The people that are put in the context of money vigilance are those people that are so strict on money. These are your misers. These are your cheap people, your frugal people. These are people that absolutely are tightwads with money, to the point of that they have a phobia or fear about spending money. These are the individuals where you go to their house and they write their name on juice, and they're so possessive about their fucking materials, it's sad, right? These are your money vigilant people, your cheapskates. Then you got your money avoidance types. Your money avoidance types, they don't really have any attachment to money. The shit's there to be spent. You know what I'm saying? They might be reckless with their finances. Don't fuck with me about money. All right? I'm doing me. Money's here. I'm going to do what I want. Period. I don't want to hear about investments, none of that shit. Those are your money avoidance types. Then you got your money status types. Those are the people that lead off with their possessions. Their identity and their ego is attached to what they've acquired, their credentials, their standing in life, their status, their position, right? These are the people in the first 10 minutes of the conversation, they're telling you what they own, they're fucking talking about their job, and all this stupid shit. And you got your money worshipers. Now, in reading this, I had to be honest with myself. Oh shit, I'm a money worshiper, right? Your money worshipers are those people that feel everything would be okay if they had money. Period. There's no problems. It's even a problem-solving thing. If you're angry, fuck it. When I get money, I'll show them. That's me. Okay? So that's why I wanted to do this, because this is also therapeutic for me. Those money worshipers always be like, man, if I had enough money, I could do X, Y, Z. So why do I bring those 4 money scripts up? Those 4 money scripts and those types are good examples of attachments, right? And how those attachments play out into your ego, and how anytime any one of those money types have something that threatens their view towards money, anger comes about. So money's a good indicator of what makes you angry, right? Your relationship with money is a good indicator, if you don't know where to begin to find out what you're attached to, right? Analyze what you go through inside of you emotionally and mentally when your materials or your money is in jeopardy, right? When you don't have money, how do you feel? When you have lots of money, how do you feel? Does this fluctuate? Are your moods dependent upon if you have money? When you acquire things, how do you feel? When you don't have things that you would like to acquire, how do you feel? If you don't know how to identify your anger and what you're attached to and what your ego is, that's a good way to start, is with your money. So this is a very heavy moon. This is a very heavy moon, because you see in this moon, and you'll probably have encountered it since Monday, today, maybe even up to tomorrow. You'll talk to people and they don't have a grip, or they're not aware of how they're displaying their ego, right? And this is why when you try to tell somebody something about what they're doing, they might lash out at you, because it's in the unconscious. right? The unconscious is very important. People are not aware of their ego, right? How much time do we put in exploring our ego? How much time do we put in bridging the gap between our unconscious and our conscious? And this is what the Aquarius-Leo dynamic represents. For all you Aquarians out there, ask yourself, this is specifically for my Aquarians, ask yourself, what are things that you want to be seen for, recognized for? And if you say, oh, nothing, you need to ask yourself, are you being honest and objective with yourself? See, when you talk to an Aquarius, since they're the scientists and they deal with high logic and rationale, they will tell you that I don't have an ego. It's pure logic. But is that honest? See, Leo deals with honesty. Aquarius deals with liberation and truth telling. Are you being honest with yourself? You know what I mean? And if you say that, you will be tested, and your ego might come out in ways that you're not aware of. So to all my Aquarians, find out, maybe you might need to be attached to something, to help you grow. Because if you're constantly detaching yourself from emotions, you're not really tested. You're not really tested because you're not really going through the deepest parts of yourself that could be driving or motivating you. You could just be purely mental. And if you're a purely mental person, that means that there's realms of understanding that you don't have. And that means that people can either get over on you or take advantage of you, or in all your intellect, you'll be so stupid because you don't understand emotions that the people around you, you constantly miscommunicate with. So maybe as an Aquarius, if you cannot identify what you're attached to, you might need to get attached to something. Thought. To my Leos, I suggest you look at all of the things that you are attached to and come to grips with whatever you have that drives you emotionally, right? Identify your habits that you do out of emotion, and then ask yourself, what happens if I am not able to express this emotion or feel this emotion? How does that make you feel? And in doing that, you'll start the process of slowly looking at the emotion from a distance and then seeing it for what it is without actively participating in the feeling itself. So that's that. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Again, Do It Yourself Astrology by Birkbeck. Excellent. You see, I ran through this halfway broke. The other one is Astrology, A Divine Science by Marcia. Definitely suggest you get that. Marcia Moore and Mark Douglas. Astrology, Divine Science. And the other one is Life Energy by John Diamond. So, again, hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell. YouTube is constantly changing their policies, so they're constantly censoring certain subject matters. And for the record, half my videos I don't get paid for because of the subject matter. So I'm not doing this for the money. You understand? Even though I'm a money worshiper, which I'm working through. But this is for all of you to actually rise above dogma and actually start changing the conversation and discussing things that are not mundane. Because where we're at, where we're going, it's time to start discussing things that are a little bit more strange. Because it's that strangeness that is actually going to position you for the future. It's not the conventional. You know what I mean? So that's that. Again, thank you all for listening. King and Queen Radio, thank you. Brooklyn Station, thank you. Sister Dubong, much appreciated. DJ Sean, and I'm going to put my time slots for the radio. We're expanding. If you need astrology charts, astrology readings, please let me know. And then that's that. Peace.